Welcome back to part 2 of the Mamba Moments interview with Cabbie Richards. I'm your host, Skylar Treppel, and thanks as always for tuning in.
I think we've discovered something new here. I think Cabbie put Kobe in a good mood before the iconic Dwayne Wade game winner. We never knew that Cabbie might have played a role. Who knows?
No, I can't take any credit for that. I would like to, but I can't take any credit for that.
That's so cool that you were there for that era, though, man. That is amazing. So something really special about the Cabbie interviews was obviously all of us as basketball fans, we have a little bit of a dream of hanging out with our favorite player or getting to meet them. So in all of Cabbie's interviews and in all of your interviews, Cabbie, you would try to hang out with Kobe. What was the relationship like off the court? Did you guys hang out much? I've heard some stories, I think you did, off the court. And what was that like? What was special about it? Anything that stuck out just that you want to share from because all the people who watch those interviews, we want to know what happened off the court. Did Cabbie get to hang out and be friends with Kobe? Kind of know you did, but I want to hear a bit about it.
Thank you. Well, Skylar, we were professional friends. I would say that we weren't like friends. And because Kobe had a very close circle, like Caron Butler was one of his best friends. Lamar Odom was one of his closest friends. Who else? Derek Fisher was one of his closest friends. So the only time we hung out outside of the game was this video. I hosted this video game challenge with him and Carmelo Anthony. Man, it was a decade ago. And that was so it was after the event. So Carmelo was playing Kobe in NBA Live 09 or 2010, before 2K, maybe before 2K made its return. And afterwards, we were just eating at this event. And that's when I pitched him the helicopter idea. And Allison Bogley was there, and Kobe's manager, Jerry Sawyer, or maybe manager at the time, Jerry Sawyer, was there. And I said, hey, Kobe, man, I was thinking of doing a hot air balloon. And then my producer, Dave, was like, well, maybe a helicopter. I was like, ooh, a helicopter is even better. So when I pitched, I was like, Kobe, the next interview we do, we should do a helicopter ride, because the previous interview that we had done was in a limousine, and we were going to go to his house, but Kobe was like, you guys can't come to my house, for real. We're just going to do a couple of laps around the practice facility. We're going to drive around LA for 6 minutes. And then my security guy's going to pick us up, or you're going to take me back to the facility. I'm going to get in my car and then drive back to Orange County. So he's like, all right, I'll do a helicopter. And I didn't know. And I was like, Allison, you hear that? Kobe said to you a helicopter. Jerry, you hear that? Kobe agreed to do a helicopter ride. You guys hear it? Boom, we're doing a helicopter ride. Call Dave, we're doing a helicopter ride. I didn't know that Kobe had his own helicopter.
Yeah.
So that was the wrinkle that I was unaware of, which then blew my mind even further when Allison told me later. It's like, okay, we'll organize the helicopter thing because Kobe has a helicopter. What?
Amazing.
Anyway, so I didn't really get to another story when I pitched this idea with Allison. I was like, hey, Allison, when you guys go to Charlotte, do you think I could do an interview with Michael and Kobe at that dinner? When you guys land, I'm sure they'll talk. Michael might be there. Do you think? And Allison was like, absolutely not. Absolutely no chance. I'm not even.
Good idea.
Yeah. Well, for me as a dreamer, that would be amazing. Just to sit there to listen to Michael and Kobe just speak candidly.
They would have played mental one-on-one against each other.
What's that?
They would have played mental one-on-one against each other in front of you.
Maybe, or just shared not war stories, but the equivalent of war stories in a basketball sense. There was a time I asked Kobe if I could bring a camera, if I could host Drake and Kobe at a dinner in Toronto. And then Kobe smiled. He goes, I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't want our conversation to be recorded. I wouldn't want that I would just want to be candid. And I was like, oh, I respect that. I was disappointed. Yeah. But that would have been incredible. Maybe Drake would have never said the line, you weren't with me. You wasn't with me shooting jumpers in the gym, or whatever that line was from the song Stay Scheming, which Drake apologized many times for.
Yes, of course. And then Drake apologized with that incredible Mamba jacket he had at the All-Star game too. That was pretty awesome. But
yes, but
very cool. So Thank you for sharing that. These are amazing stories. So we got a couple questions left here, Cabbie. Obviously, it's very clear how special your relationship with Kobe was and what you got out of him. I even think when you say that he wanted to be candid, that says a lot about you. That says that he just wanted to chop it up with you and have some fun, and that's great. So what do you think is the most overlooked aspect of Kobe Bryant on the court and off the court as a person that you got to know?
Ooh, wow. That's a tough question because I believe, since his passing, he's been properly appreciated in the culture and in the sport and properly revered. And there have been so many players who Kobe was their inspiration.
Yeah.
What has been overlooked? Wow, that's a great question. On court, maybe his defense and his IQ.
Truth.
And those are sometimes defense is harder to quantify because so many things happen off the box score. You see it. You've seen moments with LeBron where LeBron is telling opponents, no, you're supposed to be here. You guys are running this set. Like that's how intelligent LeBron is on the court. And like basketball, LeBron, Kyle Lowry, Chris Paul, like it's hard to measure their IQ in something that would show up in a box score other than steals or other than their opponent's field goal percentage or their plus minus when they're on the court versus when they're off the court. So I think Kobe's defense might be overlooked. And off the court, I love telling this story. Terrence Ross once told me in a podcast that when he works out in LA in the summertime, like two things happen. One, Kobe had a run for like 5 days or a week where it was invite only. So you had to be vetted by Kobe in order to come to these runs with Kobe Bryant. And then two, so LeBron sort of duplicated that sort of mini camp at UCLA. And then for a week in the summer, the UCLA gym was just closed to the public. And that's where LeBron would have his own version of that run. But the Kobe one had more stature and status because of who he was in basketball. And to get and then later we see photos after Kobe retired of the Mamba Academy. So you see Kyrie Irving, you see Kawhi Leonard, Antetokounmpo. You see these guys oh man, these are the dudes that get that Kobe choose or call or whatever invite out to LA. And then obviously you're taking the invitation to go work out with Kobe Bryant because he sees the game differently than you do. And then you are in his presence. You're just a student. You're just going to watch, have ears completely wide open, eyes wide open, and just absorb everything because he's such a magnificent student of the game. So when Terrence is I was like, well, did you ever get invited? He's like, no, man, not yet. And I felt for the dude.
Yeah.
But it's still even though you made it to the NBA, there are still levels of achievement that you had to cross in order to get validated to go to work out with Kobe. And I haven't asked Terrence recently if he got to go or if he did attend one of these Mamba Academy or whatever since that pod. And our conversation was probably 5 years ago when he was still a Raptor.
Yes.
I do enjoy that little nugget about Kobe off the court and how he and then that Gilbert Arenas story. This is real quick. Gilbert Arenas tells a story that when you work out with Kobe in the summer, he will make you do certain drills to test you.
Wow.
To maybe wear you down. So he's like, all right, let's do 1,000 over the left shoulder, 1,000 turnaround J's over the left shoulder, 1,000 turnaround J's over the right shoulder. Let's have a 3-point contest. I think Gilbert Arenas says it was either 1,000 makes from either one of the corners, and then Arenas was shooting so much Kobe, he developed, I think, tendonitis in his shoulder. So it actually messed him up one season, but Gilbert was one of Kobe's adversaries. He was just a bucket in the Washington Wizard days. And then, and also, where did he play before the Wizards? Was it Orlando before?
The Warriors.
The Warriors. Was there a stop in between?
I think there might have been in Orlando, a little stop.
Or maybe it was after Washington, but either way, Gilbert was an incredible scorer. And so I love that gamesmanship. Kobe's out here playing 4D chess with people. And I love that about him too.
That's amazing. No, for sure. And before we get to our last question, when you bring up Kobe and LeBron, you got to do an interview with Kobe and LeBron together. This is rare. Most people have not gotten to do this. I highly recommend everyone check it out on YouTube. And you got them to write some kind words about each other over some pictures. That is amazing. So
Thanks,
I feel you have a unique perspective. What was sort of the relationship and the respect like between Kobe and LeBron? We all know how much they were compared, especially during that 2000s period. LeBron on the Lakers winning a chip now. Is there anything that you find really interesting or that you learned about that relationship?
They had a lot of respect for each other, but they were like alpha male competitors.
Nice.
Like Kobe was more of like an alpha predator on the court, just tenacious in every way, like wanted to figuratively like rip your heart out and like embarrass you on your home court, kind of a player. And Bron doesn't have that kind of demonstrative way of playing, but in his production, like the dude is a walking triple double. And
yeah,
every once in a while would just take these effortless threes that'll just splash because he's so talented. So anecdotally, they weren't friends. They had a lot of respect for each other, but they were not friends. So there was always like a little bit of a tension. And when we had this opportunity through Coca-Cola at the 2013 All-Star game in Houston, we had like 30 pitches. Like we pitched 30 different ideas before they agreed to that one, where we brought like these iconic moments and had each guy comment on the other person's iconic moment by writing a word or a sentence. I mean, it was tough. Like we had better ideas, but Coca-Cola was like, we don't want anything where it's Kobe versus LeBron. So we had this one concept about creating a custom like Sprite vending machine with like a game, like on a touch screen where they would play each other, like a version, like some kind of like soccer Pong kind of a game. And then, you know, obviously the winner would get like a custom Sprite, you know, and they could drink it on like, cause they were both, Kobe had a deal with, they both had a deal with Coca-Cola. And I think LeBron had a deal with Sprite under the Coke ban. Anyway. And then there were other players. There was Serge Ibaka was in there. Andrea Bargnani was in there. Mm-hmm. And there was one other player. Oh my gosh, this dude played for the Sacramento Kings. I can't remember his name now. He was another international player because they had taken 24 international or they invited 24 international basketball players from around the world to play. 12 are on Kobe's team, 12 are on LeBron's team, and LeBron and Kobe were honorary coaches. It called the international games or the global games or something. Anyway, I'm so sorry.
No. This is great to hear.
So, you know, we had Kobe's moment where he's got one finger in the air after scoring 81 points as he's walking off the floor.
Yes.
We had LeBron in celebration after winning his first title against the OKC Thunder with Miami. So Kobe commented on his picture. Bron commented on Kobe's picture. And they kind of went back and forth like that. I was so nervous, man. I was rehearsing in my hotel room till like 1 o'clock in the morning the night before. And then like moments before we actually had the time, because it's a hard 5 minutes. When they're like, okay, you have 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, the guys are getting pulled and they're walking. So I have to get everything in.
Wow.
Because you get no retakes and oh, sorry, wait, I forgot one question. No, they're like, yo, you had your time. So you better be prepared. So I was so nervous and you know, there's other people watching and, you know, the guys, when they show up, they don't know what they're specifically doing. Then like at halftime, like, oh yeah, we have this, you're doing this interview with Cabbie for 5 minutes. And then boom, I just jump into it. Hey guys, and I'm a spaz. Like I've just drank 2 Red Bulls and I just put like in my eyes. And then I'm like, here we go. Cause like the adrenaline just jacks you up 300% because I'm always on the clock. Whenever I interview Kobe or Bron or any athletes, Rogers, Michael, actually, no, I didn't have any specific time. Mike Tyson, I've interviewed Tony Hawk, like,
wow.
There's David Beckham, there's always a time. There's always a hard clock coming. So It's stressful, but it's the adrenaline. Like it's a great rush. And then after you want to sleep for like a day. So
Makes sense.
those two were professional. They respected each other, but they weren't friends, and they didn't ever hang out. So
Wow. That's really interesting. And, I feel in that interview, you really used your goofy nature to make them pretty at ease with each other. I mean, I personally love LeBron, don't get me wrong, but there'll always be that little comparison between Kobe and LeBron. And I loved hearing LeBron say that he couldn't get 81 points in that particular interview. And I feel, you brought out that friendliness in them, and Kobe enjoying LeBron celebrating his first championship. It's one of the best hidden videos on the internet. I highly recommend everyone check it out for sure. And back to what you were saying about the Portland game, I just wanted to comment, Kobe's skill set, it is unquantifiable. The artistry, the footwork, this dude was so special. So in general, Cabbie, to close this thing off here, what is the lasting memory and impact of Kobe Bryant that you take with you and that you carry with you to sum up the whole experience, the man, and, the fact that the Mamba might not be here physically anymore, but of course is still with us in spirit. And I think you have one of the most special relationships with him.
Thank you. Kobe elevated my career more so than any athlete, and in many ways defined what my career was. People got to see another side of him, which they hadn't experienced before. And it was very special, and I'm forever grateful to Kobe. And I don't know if he was aware of what he was doing in the moment, and how much bigger it raised my profile in Canada, and I guess a little bit in the United States. Big thank you to Arash Markazi, who wrote an article featuring me and Kobe in ESPN in like 2010. It's like, there's a strange relationship between Kobe and this Canadian reporter, and we just don't really understand it, So, I mean, I'll remember that selfishly, but then on a greater level, sort of culturally, like the Mamba mentality is a universal proverb. It's like you can push yourself to be greater. Like anybody can understand. Like it's a mindset, and hold yourself accountable, but push yourself. Like, hard work will pay off because it has to, because you're putting the work in. Kobe was such a champion we didn't get to see this evolve to its highest form, but he was such a champion for women's basketball, women's soccer. And seeing Kobe, the dad, and like Kobe, the mentor, would have been his next chapter, along with a lot of the business ventures. But Kobe, the author, we were just at the beginning of that, where he was writing books, the Wizenard series.
Oh,
but what
incredible book.
How he was shining, using the spotlight to direct attention to Gigi and women's basketball. Like one of the best things about the NBA that I respect so much was that the stars of the NBA really support the WNBA. They physically go to their games, and it's not just wearing a hoodie. Like these guys are friends with WNBA stars, but they attend their games and they try to lift their platform too. You don't see that in other sports. Obviously, there isn't a women's NFL, but there's certainly women's hockey leagues, and we don't see any hockey players attending any. Like maybe during the Olympics, Team Canada, you're celebrating or you're promoting the women's side because it's a national tournament, it's international tournament, but like. Maybe you see a little bit of it in MLS because there are equivalent leagues, women's soccer leagues in America and certainly in Europe, but not like basketball. And Kobe was a huge fan of the WNBA, and we got to miss how much he would have helped to boost that league and the visibility over the next however many years.
Absolutely. No, thank you for sharing that. I couldn't agree more. And I think that hopefully by us keeping the legacy alive and what the WNBA is doing, Kobe will continue to elevate it. And what an incredible legacy Cabbie, I want to thank you so much for being on the Mamba Moments podcast today. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Cabbie, we're two of the biggest Canadian basketball and Kobe Bryant fans. Thank you for the memories growing up, watching the Kobe interviews. You really brought out a different side. I recommend everyone check it out. Thank you for sharing today. And Cabbie, where can we find you nowadays? I know you're with Bleacher, and what are you up to?
Thank you, man. On Twitter, I'm just at Cabbie, and on Instagram, I'm at The Real Cabbie. All my stuff is there, and we're doing a bunch of fun things in the betting space. So as that is surging in the US, hopefully you'll see a few more fun clips with yours truly and the knuckleheads that I call my coworkers over at Bleacher Report Betting.
Absolutely. I saw you up on TNT doing some betting commentating with Charles and Shaq and Kenny on the same screen. So that was awesome. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And we are going to keep up the legacy of Kobe Bryant and sharing these incredible stories to keep alive all of these incredible Mamba moments. So tune in next week and thank you for being here. Mamba out, Mamba forever.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mamba Moments Cabbie Richards interview. Tune in next week for interview with USA Today reporter and former Lakers reporter Mark Medina, who did many interviews with Kobe, including Kobe's last sit-down interview ever. Remember to subscribe on your platform of choice and donate to the Mamba and Mambacita Foundation if you are able. Mamba out, Mamba forever.